Well, hello again and happy Thursday. And if you are in the Ohio weather, an Ohio area, I hope that you are warm and cozy this Thursday because it's been a little bit messy this morning.
Absolutely.
But guess what? We are here. We are here at Gantt Member Center for our Finances in Focus with a specific focus on college clarity.
Yes.
We are here today to talk to our members about the college planning process. And Dr. Ellis, you've been pretty busy this morning.
Oh my goodness. Yes, Ivy. We had a number of families come in this morning, and certainly around this time of year, almost all of them were families with seniors.
Yes.
Because offer letters are coming out, and there's a lot of discussion around how to compare offers and what to do if you have a big college bill.
Yes. So
Yes.
it's been wonderful.
Yes,
We didn't know what the weather would bring, but it
Right.
has certainly blown in some families. And so we're excited to continue our tour of College Clarity Days and to continue here at our Gantt Member Center, in March at our Northwest Member Center, and then in April at our Kettering and a Columbus location, and then also a seminar that we're going to have to talk about exactly what you've been talking to a lot of the
Right.
seniors about today.
Yes.
But today, for our Finances in Focus, we're actually going to be talking about something that many of you are probably working with, even if you don't have seniors, but you have high schoolers, and that is test taking. So we're going to be talking about ACT, SAT prep. You're just going to share with us a few tips on prepping for test taking, and then also just how many times they should be taking. Before you get started, I actually want to jump on because I know I have a few people that would love to hear this topic. And so let me share this out. If you have anybody that is a family member, friend that you know has high school 10th or 11th graders especially, but really all high schoolers that you can share this with, please be sure to share. Again, today for our Finances in Focus, we are talking about some test taking tips. So, all right. So with that in mind, my question to you, I think about test taking and just the very thought of it, if you're not a test taker, can bring some anxiety.
Right.
Around this time in the spring, I know that at the high schools now, the juniors are taking the ACT within school.
Absolutely.
So whether you're taking the ACT or SAT, one or each are required to get into college. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Oh,
just
absolutely.
the whole idea of the role that they play in the college process?
Yes. So the ACT and the SAT are one part of the college admissions process. And I want to be clear in saying that because oftentimes we put so much emphasis on it, like that's going to be the only way that my kid can go is to get a big test, score. And that's just absolutely not the case. So I want to debunk that myth right away and just share that test taking is only one part of it. So the two primary college admissions tests are the ACT and the SAT. There's also AP tests, or there'll be in the quarter tests that your teen will take. Those are not related to the college admissions process. So I do want to be clear about that. The ACT is offered from ACT, which is located out in Iowa. And the SAT is offered through College Board. And so you'll hear that term a lot, College Board. They also have a pre-AC and a pre-SAT. And so many times students will really take these official tests in junior year of high school. And they can take the pre-test anytime in 9th or 10th grade. And some high schools in the area will offer the PSAT. One thing I want you to keep in mind, again, is that the pre-tests are not related to college admissions, meaning you don't have to send them in to colleges. But the PSAT, which a number of juniors may have taken in October, that's for National Merit Qualifying, the scholarship qualifying test. And so it's only used for qualifying for a scholarship. For this time of year, a lot of the seniors have been notified if they actually are national merit finalists.
So what you're saying, they took something back in October, and as a result of
October of junior year.
Of their junior year.
Yes.
And now as we go into spring of their senior year, they're being notified if they're merit scholars and maybe going to receive some resources.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And so that's what that PSAT is for. The ACT or the SAT is sent to the colleges as part of your application that you'll submit to determine whether or not you're admitted to a college.
Gotcha. Okay.
There can be scholarship money that's associated with your test score. And that's especially true if you're applying to a college that offers scholarship based on scores. Like, so for example, at University of Cincinnati or some other universities around the country, what they will offer is if you have a 26 or higher on the ACT, then you can get scholarship money for that.
So speaking of that, this is a throw in. I know that there are different score ranges. The ACT goes into the 20s. The SAT are like hundreds and thousands.
Yes, and that's right.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
That is right.
And
so when you see
the
that,
scale is a little bit different. On the ACT, it goes up to 36 as the highest score, and on the SAT, it's a range from 200 to 800. And so it's for the different sections. So there's a qualitative section, a verbal section, and then a quantitative section. And so combining those two, it'll be 1600 as the top score.
As the top score.
Yes,
so like 800.
exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
So what are some tips that parents can help students with, or that students can apply to help the process of preparing for those tests and just getting through them be a little easier? Because I know, just like I said, whether you're a test taker or not, the idea of that being one piece to the journey could be a little bit stressful, or maybe not. But
it absolutely is stressful, and we hear a lot about students having test anxiety and just not being able to do well on tests. I mean, I'll say that for myself. I'm just not a great test taker. And so some of the things, though, that kids can do to prepare, one is there are practice questions that are available on both of the websites, and you can always go through those practice questions. I think that one of the things that's so hard for our teens today is making the time to do that, to go through those practice questions, because it's really just a matter of, just practicing with those questions, and getting a sense for how to respond to them, looking at, well, what is the correct answer if you do get it incorrect, and why was it correct, and those kinds of things. But it's making the time to do that. And so if your teen is busy, like many are, and don't have the time to go through the practice questions on their own, I certainly do recommend getting some kind of help, whether it's doing an online course, because there are some apps that you can use, as well as free online courses even that you can, classes that you can do to help with preparing for the ACT or the SAT. There's also a lot of great tutors that you can use as well. And I like to recommend working with a tutor for at least, 2 or 3 sessions, simply because the tutors give you accountability. For one, because if your kid knows that they need to meet with their tutor, next Wednesday, then they'll probably do the homework for that, but left on their own, I think that's part of the reason that you do want to be mindful around taking your official test in junior year, because by junior year, you pretty much would have covered the content to it. Yes, I generally do not recommend any official test taking in 9th or 10th. I just think that students have so many other things they can be focused on, and if they are starting to take the ACT and the SAT in 9th and 10th grade, it just puts an unnatural focus on something that's only a part of the application, but not all of it.
So the other question, I think this is a good lead into, is how many times should a student take their standardized test? I have seen kids take it once and they knock it out the park and they're done. I've heard parents that have said their kid is on their 6th time taking it and the score looks the same. I don't know. So I just wonder, is there a sweet spot?
Yes. And I say the sweet spot is twice.
Okay.
And That's it, because after you've taken a third, fourth time, your score really doesn't change. It takes usually 2 times to know that this is where my score is, and that's okay. I just think that it sends the wrong message when students are repeatedly taking a test. Because again, it's only part of the application. It's not the whole of the application. The only time that I recommend that students would take it more than that is, let's say it's in January and of their senior year, they know that they're going to attend a particular college, and that college says that they need X score in order to get an additional $1,000, and that $1,000 makes a difference for their family. Then yes, retake it, because those colleges will allow you to keep taking it all the way until you enroll. And they count your highest score as the score that they will base your scholarship on. That's when I think it makes sense. But again, if you're taking your test for college in junior year, you really don't have, all those times that you can take it, because it's going to be a delay in between prepping, getting your score back, all of that. You should not be taking it that many times. And so I really do want to stress to families to keep this whole process manageable and as stress-free as possible. I mean, that's why, this whole series around clarity, because it shouldn't be all of this, overstress, pressure around, I got to get, this perfect score. And it's like, no, if your score is, in the 20s, okay, there are a lot of colleges that still want your team to come, even if they do have a score that's in the 20s. And that's something too, this is kind of a little bit different, but related, that I do want to state is that there are over 1,000 colleges in the US that are test optional, meaning that you don't even need a test. And so that's where I think it's really important for families to know that, because then if your kid does have test anxiety, they don't even want to take a test. Something, there are a lot of great colleges out there where they can still, be admitted, get scholarship money, and they didn't have to take any tests. No ACT or SAT required. Yes.
I was going to ask you, were there any times where you wouldn't need to take the test or shouldn't take the test? So there are test optional universities and colleges out there.
Yes.
What about if you have a student that is either not going straight from high school into a college atmosphere, or they're going in, say for example, like a 2-year to a 4-year university, or they're going from a test optional to one that's not a test optional. I mean, is there a time at that point where, if they're not going straight in after their senior year, where they don't need to take it, or should they still take it if they know that after a year they're going to go in?
I would say don't take it unless you have to. Maybe that's just me, because I have test anxiety. But
I guess there's other transfer resources at that.
There are, absolutely. And the thing about it too, with transferring, they're going to base it on what you do while you're in college those first 2 years. They're not really looking back at high school to say, okay, we need a recommendation from your high school English teacher. No, you're going to do it's set up quite differently in that regard. And the only time, I can't even recall a time when I had left high school and someone asked for my, high school, my ACT or SAT score. I mean,
there wasn't a time.
Yeah.
I think about that. There was not a time after my application process, and I took both. I actually took the ACT and SAT. I think at that time too, at that point, it was still a little gray on the whole idea of certain schools, you take certain ones. So I took both. Yeah. But I don't remember ever using it again after that.
Right.
But I remember sleepless nights about it. And I actually scored pretty well with without a lot of, I'm not going to say without effort, but I scored pretty well naturally. But even with that, it was a stressful time just thinking about it. And even if it's not those tests that are college bound tests, even now within the high school platform, the testing that is done just on state standardized level, the state standardized tests and things like that, they can just be challenging. So, but I think you brought a good point. At one point, it kind of is what it is. Don't, make it as stress-free as possible. Go through the process, but make it as stress-free as possible. So.
Exactly. Because over worrying about it isn't going to change what it is.
It doesn't change what it is. And then I think too, as we close, the point you just made of how many colleges and universities are out there,
Yes.
just in overall, and then
exactly.
that there's a large group. I mean, thousands is a large number of schools where
it's a lot
that
to
isn't
choose
even
from.
an impact on your admission. That's something to explore. So I think that's the other thing that I kind of got a closing note from what you said there. One thing that I've heard even as a recurring theme in something that you've said is to really understanding who your student is
Yes.
and choosing what's
Yes.
right for your student, and
Right.
really not working off the standard of what
Right.
what looks like it should be, but what's right for your student. How can you create the right track and navigate the right roadmap to college or to life after high school for your student?
Exactly. And that can look really different from their friends
Yes.
and what their friends are doing. And so that, I wanted to say one last thing too before we close out. You mentioned taking both tests.
Yes.
And I would just say, no, I don't.
Because
Because
they
all the
require two
colleges,
different
no,
personalities.
but all the colleges will take either or. And so that gives the student the advantage because they can then just focus on the test that's best for them.
That's for them. That's
They
right.
can
Because
just
they're
focus
kind of
on what-
different.
yes.
I mean,
They are
the piece of
slightly
their brain
different.
is
Yeah,
a
they're
little bit
slightly different. And just, it just puts so much emphasis on the testing in a way that it shouldn't be.
Yes.
And, taking both just takes a lot of time because they're offered at different, times of the
you're coordinating
month.
the calendar.
You have to
Yes.
wait on the score to come back. And then if you do a retake, it means that your whole junior year is all about test taking. And that's not what junior year should be about because there's so many other great things, in
Yes.
junior year that are happening. So just focus on that one test, which gets back to, who your kid is.
Yes.
And they know that, they are a great, outside reader and the vocabulary on the SAT is not going to be an issue, then take the SAT. But, if that's not your thing and the ACT fits better, even from, when it's offered time-wise in the year and you feel better about that, you practice some questions and know that feels right for you in terms of doing well on it, focus on that.
Okay.
So yes.
Good tip.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that we can close out on that.
Yes, we can.
And I want to thank those of you that have tuned in live for joining us. If you have someone, again, that you think would benefit from this information, please feel free to continue to share it, even in its recorded state. We thank you for joining us for Finances in Focus, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks next time. Have a great day and stay warm.
Thank you.